Karen,
What?
we have got a love story in our hands today.
Ooh, I like that.
A love story. I thought you'd like it. Yep. But may not be exactly what you think.
Well, as long as it's all about love, I'm good.
It is all about love. Well, after all these years of doing the show and all the interviews we've done about life after death, connecting with loved ones on the other side, near-death experiences, I'd say you and I don't really have any doubts that there's lots more to this world than meets the eye, right?
I would agree.
Well, I'd also say that it's really nice to know that our loved ones are here with us, ready to help us anytime we need them to, although they might be on the other side, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, remember that old movie with Demi Moore and Patrick Swayze?
Ghost?
Ghost.
Mm-hmm.
What if they could have kept that love going even after Patrick had died?
Well, I mean, it sounds great. There might be some challenges.
Oh, yeah. Well, do you think it's possible for us to continue relationships we have on this side with those that have passed over to the other side?
I think we can. I think they might have to change a little bit, but yeah.
Well, this one might just change your perspective on everlasting love.
All right.
My name is Will.
And I'm Karen.
And unlike Mulder and Scully,
We both want to believe.
so we've embarked on a journey of discovery.
We've talked to people deeply entrenched in the spiritual and metaphysical world.
We've thrown ourselves into weird and wonderful experiences. I even joined a coven of witches.
And wait, you joined a coven?
Yep, all in the interest of finding something
Anything.
that will prove that there's something beyond this physical,
three-dimensional world we all live in.
This is the Skeptic Metaphysicians.
Welcome to the Skeptic Metaphysicians. I'm Will.
And I'm Karen.
And today's topic is quite the intriguing one. You see, Pam Johnson is an inspirational speaker, author, and a channeler who lives in Honolulu, Hawaii, where she met her husband, Alan, during his first visit to the islands in 1990. Now, Alan was a natural-born medium who had contact with the spirit world from early childhood until he passed away in August of 2020. A sad story for most, but not for Pam and Alan. Because you see, Alan returned to Pam from beyond, and they've continued their loving relationships from across the veil. And now Pam and Alan teach direct spirit communication through private lessons and their group coaching program, the Supernatural Love Academy. And she's here with us today to talk to us about soulmates in the afterlife. She says that interdimensional relationships are actually on the rise, and I couldn't be more thrilled to welcome Pam Johnson to the show. Pam, thanks so much for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here and talk about this because, yes, it's for real. It's happening. And I myself was shocked when people started reaching out to me after I shared my story and wrote our book. And I didn't know. I thought, well, maybe I'm just an outlier, right? Like, it's just me because my husband's a medium. I'm an intuitive. Maybe that's it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But lo and behold, they're ordinary people. From all walks of life, even Christian fundamentalists who are shocked when their loved ones start to reach out and say, hey, I'm here and I want to continue. And then they just think, they're losing their mind, right? Because who's talking about this? Nobody's talking about it. So I think we're one of the few voices out there talking about it. So I'm so thrilled that you're having us here because we just cannot stop talking about it because I can't think of anything more, hopeful and inspiring than that, that our loved ones are not lost to us and we can continue our relationship and they're here to support us and help us during what I think all of us would agree are very challenging times.
Mm.
Of course, the spirit world does step it up when the world is going through crisis. They began doing that at the turn of the century, before World War I and World War II. That's when all the phenomenon happened, the famous Fox sisters and the raps and taps on the walls that started. Well, that is really what it's about. I've heard mediums say the same thing. The spirit world was reaching out to us. We weren't the ones knocking on their door. They were literally knocking on our door saying, we're here to help you. We're here. We love you. And I think they're just getting louder, apparently, because I keep hearing of people having contact and we're just here to support them, which is why we started teaching live on YouTube. I decided to kind of carve my own path because nobody's talking about it. So I go, well, I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to get on YouTube and talk about it. And so people are starting to find us and say, yeah, me too. This is happening to me too.
There's a lot to talk about there. I mean,
So much.
where do we start? But
Wow.
really quickly, before Karen asks her first question, because I know she's chomping at the bit, you keep talking about welcoming you in the plural sense. Does that mean that Alan is here with us right now?
Oh yeah, he's, this is the thing, guys. They're all here. There's nowhere to go. The afterlife isn't some faraway place, right? Like a distant star. I mean, reality is enfolded upon itself. So it's just another dimension that we can't see, right, with our physical eye. But guess what? We can hear them. We can communicate. They can energetically even say, touch us, like give us tingles or chills. And I have people that have physical contact with their loved one. There's so many degrees. This is what's fascinating. And I'm trying to study this, with the people that I'm meeting, that we work with. And it's across the board, like, actual physical contact, but mostly it's kind of subtle, but definitely communication, definitely messages, definitely, you know, um, across the board, there's contact of all kinds. And I think we're just scratching the surface and beginning to hear about this because, again, people are not comfortable talking about it. They think they're going to be ridiculed or not believed or told that they're wrong or crazy, right? And to me, this is at a similar place as where near-death experiences were before they became more accepted, where people who had those NDEs, some of them were institutionalized. Like one of my friends, his mother was locked up, and that drove her crazy. It wasn't her NDE. It was because she wasn't believed and she was thought to be nuts. So she got locked up, made her worse. I mean, she really did go crazy. So this is what we're dealing with. But fortunately, because of NDEs, people are a little more open-minded, like, okay, well, maybe, the afterlife is real, right? Maybe these people talking about going through the veil and coming back, maybe that's real. So, but still, when I talk to the spiritual community, a lot of them just kind of go, oh yeah, okay. Like I go, wait a minute, I'm saying that they're still here and they're not earthbound. They're not, hallucinations. They're here and they're helping people. They're healing people. They're giving them guidance. They're healing their grief. I don't get it. I don't get why people who are in, the new age community aren't taking it seriously. But my husband from the other side says it's because they haven't lost someone. So people don't tend to really go into this unless they are grieving because they just go, oh yeah, okay, fine. They don't have any, anything to connect with it. They don't really completely accept it. They just tolerate it. And in fact, I've gotten a lot of pushback from mediums, in fact. I have people in my community that go to mediums telling them that they've had these experiences and they're either told, well, your partner is obviously earthbound, or, you have to let them go. And they're going to bring you somebody new. And this is not what the person wants. They're like, no, I'm having this contact and I want to continue. And then some of them are devastated because they are thinking that, well, maybe my partner doesn't want me to continue, right? Maybe they want me to move on. And can you imagine a worse thing to tell somebody in grief? Oh, your husband wants you to move on. Like, what? Are you saying he doesn't love me anymore? Like he just wants me to go to Tinder or something? Like, what are you talking about? I mean,
wait, is there a Tinder for the afterlife? Because
probably, I'm sure there's everything, right?
They see all the profiles at once.
There you go. Multidimensional, right? So
what was your first contact with your husband like? Like, how did you know it was him?
I knew it was him. I wasn't expecting, even though he was a medium. Okay, we never talked about it. He didn't like to talk about death. And so when he crossed, I really just thought, oh, well, that's it. I mean, he's a medium. I'm a channeler. It never occurred to me. But I started hearing him talk to me. And I have a friend who's very clairvoyant. She can see spirit. And she could see him and talk to him. And because she sees other spirits.
It is like Ghost.
It is. Do you know that the irony here is that was the first movie he and I saw together.
Oh, wait.
I'm not talking about foreshadowing, right? I couldn't. I swear, it sounds too corny. That was the first movie we saw together after we met because I met him in Hawaii, and we went to a movie at local theater, and it was playing at that time. And so when he came back, he said, "Yeah, we're like the movie Ghost, except that Patrick stayed and continued the relationship with Demi."
Right.
I said,
Do you
"All
do
right."
pottery?
No, I
you
don't
do
do pottery.
pottery?
No, I don't do that. Although he was an artist, he was a painter
Oh,
and an
nice.
Right.
artist.
All right, I've got lots of questions about this
Yes.
because all kinds of things pop to mind, right? Questions about people who really have a hard time breaking up with others and think, "Oh, finally I'm free," and
Sure.
"Oh my gosh, no, I'm not," right? But but the really we talk about continuing relationships. To me, a relationship is one that you're there for each other emotionally,
Right.
all that kind of, but
Right.
also you're also there for each other physically. So, how does that
Well, how
work
does
with
that
this
work?
interdimensional relationship that you've
Okay.
got going on?
Ooh.
So there's all kinds of experiences people are having. Okay. So it's all unique to the person, the couple. What I have discovered through teaching this is that there's two parties, obviously, to any relationship, right? And so there's them in the spirit world that some of the spirits are stronger in their ability to come through and make contact, even physical contact. Some of them, they're learning, so it's more subtle. But the learning continues, like they get stronger. I've seen that with some of our students, like the loved one is getting stronger and stronger. But then we are the other half of the equation. It's not like this is a passive experience. We have to develop spiritually. In other words, it's not about really becoming psychic because, we're all born psychic. It's not about that. It's really about letting go of your negative beliefs, right? Your fears, your trauma, because that keeps your vibration kind of low. And when they cross over, they're at this higher vibe. They're not perfect because they're still growing and learning and evolving, but they're higher than we are because they dropped their ego. So we have to kind of rise up to meet them halfway because they can only come down so far. And so what we teach is I help people just shed their limiting beliefs. And we do a lot of healing in our academy. And basically, I just teach them these principles that I've learned for 37 years in this, in this field, because I was always been interested in healing and spiritual counseling and all that. But it's about that evolving as a soul, just letting go of your identity idea of who you are, right? That's a lot of times is just taking on other people's beliefs, like your parents told you you're this way, or society tells you you're this way. It's like letting that go and finding out, who am I really as a soul? What am I here for? So to me, this is a spiritual journey. This is why I tell people, if you want to connect with them and have an ongoing relationship, I don't mean just a one-time connection, which some people can have, but have an ongoing connection, you have to develop yourself. So as far as the physical content you're talking about, with me and Alan, I feel this, I can't explain it. It's this love that is like wrapped around me all the time. And I just feel this, it's like this pulsing, and it's not sexual per se, but it's more like this warmth, this cocoon. And I've heard other of my students say similar things, but some of them actually have physical contact. One woman does, to the point where she can't sleep at night because her husband is so happy that he can come through, and she's spiritually very open and more developed, let's say, than the average person. So I think I told her, I think this is why she can connect with him, like meet him halfway. So it's like, I told her, we're going to have to talk to your husband and set some boundaries here, because
Take away the Viagra. Take away the spiritual Viagra.
Exactly. I mean, and then people in my academy, when we were talking about this in our meeting, right? Several of my members, the women members, said, "Well, can you tell him to talk to my husband, like on the other side?"
Oh my gosh.
Like, could you just go have him talk to him? His name is, like that. It was so funny. But my husband says, yeah, they're all at different levels, and they certainly can learn to do something like that. But even if they can't, I have people who can like feel their partner kind of cuddling them energetically, feeling that connection. And let's just say, even if they're not in a 3D body, most of us would say, I'll take that. Then, rather than thinking I'm alone and having, therefore, like no contact, And this is not for everybody, granted, but for some of these men and women, because I have men and women in my group,
Mhm.
it's for them, they're all in. It's
Hmm.
like, this person was my person. I don't want anybody else. I at least want to see where this goes. I would say, admittedly, people have to learn to be independent, especially women. You have to learn to be independent. But I don't feel lonely, like, at all. I mean, I I'm actually happier now in my marriage than I was when Alan was in a body, because
Wow.
his
Less
ego
laundry.
was really in the way. His
That's
ego was,
lovely.
yeah, less laundry. Don't have to, yeah, don't have to argue about anything. No, he's just here in a fuller way. Like, and he advises me about things. He's never wrong. Unlike when he was in a body, you'd see he would
Then he
he
just
would
said he
admit
was
that
never wrong.
he would have said he was never wrong, but that would be wrong, right? Um, but it's phenomenal. And he says to me, because he was a medium and he was a spiritual teacher, he says that we contracted to do this, and that was why I've always been interested in spirituality and in becoming more, embodying your soul more, just evolving as fully as can be. I've always been passionate about that for 30 some odd years. So it's just, he says we're here to help with the ascension, and this whole experience is helping other people, ordinary people, in their own ascension process. And the more of us who are doing this, we're making it easier for other people to have
Mhm.
contact, because we're all really one. So we're affecting each other, aren't we? Like it's just contagious, right?
Right,
It's like,
right.
as we expand our consciousness.
So, what would you say to people? Because you hear from time to time people that have lost a loved one, spouse, and they're desperate for some sort of sign. And no matter what they do, how much
Yeah.
they pray, meditate, look for it, they don't see it at all. What's going on there?
Well, if they are new in their grief, the challenge is the grief can create like a obstacle or static. Depends the depth of grief. So, however, some spirits are so strong they can overpower that, but that takes a lot of energy. And in their early days of their passing, they have more residual earth energy, is what I call it, to make contact. But that fades as they fully transition. So if somebody isn't getting signs, I'd say first, it's probably their grief. They just may have to give it time. There are people who get signs right away. And again, it could be the loved one in spirit is just really strong. It could be the person's grief is not that dense. But if time, they can still make contact, it just might take a little while. So it varies, but I tell people, just, don't give up. Just keep asking for signs, keep looking. I think that a lot of times people are getting signs, but they're so distracted, especially in the world we live in right now, where all their, phones and technology, right? People are just walking around looking at their phone, like you're missing the sign, But it can happen. So I would say, don't give up hope, and keep observing, keep asking, and be hopeful.
Okay.
Now, do you think it might be, and I don't know, I'm just strictly asking for your opinion, a little bit selfish of these spirits who have gone on to kind of want to come back and maintain these relationships? Because if someone is, young and say they want to have kids, and then their spouse
Yeah,
passes,
yeah.
and now he's coming back and he's like, no, we're still together. And she's like, well, yeah. I mean,
Right. Before you answer
Go
that,
ahead.
we've got to take a quick
Yeah,
break.
yeah.
That's a great question.
course.
That's a great question to leave everybody hanging on. So I want to
Yeah.
keep that going through this break. When we come back, we're going to answer that question, and we're also going to actually ask you a couple more questions, because I think we've halfway through this thing, we've only asked you like a single question or something like that. So we do have a lot more for you, I promise you, and we'll get to them
Right.
right after these messages. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Skeptic Metaphysicians. We're talking to Pam Johnson and I would say Alan Johnson as well. We are talking about love affairs beyond the grave. And that sounds pretty weird, but I'm not talking about anything weird. It's like we're continuing relationships interdimensionally when someone passes, crosses the veil, still finding a way to remain in a relationship with someone who has passed. Pam and Alan have done just that and are currently doing right now, and they're teaching others how to do this as well. And right before the break, Karen had the world's best question, because I didn't think she was going to go there, but I'm glad that she did. Karen, can you re-ask the question?
Oh my gosh. Let me see if I remember exactly. Well, so my question was essentially, is it a little bit selfish of the people that have passed on to want to hold on to a relationship with someone on the earth who might still have other things they would want to experience? Like if they're young and they've never had a child, they want to maybe remarry and have a child. So how does that work? Like what if the husband is, I'm still here, and then she has the grief, so she wants to kind of stay with that, but also, be able to carry on her life?
Well, that's a good question. And all I can say is well, in the case of women, okay, just say women, since you can talk about children, right? I've have women who have children with their partner who passed, okay, and that partner wants to continue to be a parent through the veil. And in fact, this has been written about in other books where the spirit does want to be involved. But if the woman or the man is younger, I mean, that's a different thing. And it's not, I don't know. I mean, they may not come back, because it has to be an agreement, obviously, between the two souls, and
Okay.
ultimately they just want us to be happy. So I don't feel it's being selfish. I don't think that they're going to kind of come through and say, hey, I want to be here, if they know that their partner is only 21 and they want to have children, and obviously the husband, it can't do that. In that case, I really doubt that their loved one's going to insist on that. But the thing that I get upset about is when mediums tell somebody like that, right? They just lost their husband, and yes, they're young, and they'll say, well, he wants to bring you somebody new. And like, that's the wrong thing to tell anybody, even if the loved one in spirit wants to do that, there's no need for a medium to break this loved one's heart, right? Saying your husband wants you to move on. Nobody wants to hear that, do they?
Right.
But yeah, I don't think it's being selfish. They wouldn't do that.
Okay.
Well, that's good.
So then it's not like an automatic thing. It's like
No.
they come to you and ask you all over again, hey, do you want to go steady again? Right after
want a date?
Right. Hey, will you be my
husband-
girlfriend?
My husband did come back and propose marriage to me again, because he
Oh,
did it.
that's
He
amazing.
did. Well, we got married again in front on Zoom with some of my Facebook group members. I think about 20 people, and he proposed to me through my medium friend. I wrote about it in our book, and how he proposed to me, and he made a ring for me. I actually have it on. He made a ring, meaning like she wove it out of silver. It's this ring. I don't know if you can see it. It's a silver ring, and she wove it out of sterling silver. And her arm got red hot, and she can feel the angels. So she said Alan was chanting some angelic language, and she was wrapping this ring, and it's amazing. So I wear this ring almost all the time, because it literally was made by an angel, my girlfriend, who basically was channeling Alan. So they can do things like that. Yes, I have other friends who had these interdimensional second weddings. I mean, somebody should go into business and do this.
That's a serious destination wedding.
Oh, absolutely, right? Like
You thought
interdimensional
Hawaii was
wedding.
destination wedding. Right.
Wow.
This is so interesting. I'll be honest, I've not heard of this ever. This is the first time I'm hearing of this. So, and it's such, it makes so much sense that, like, for when I die, Karen, you are stuck with me, right? Yeah, I'm
moving on.
No way, Jose.
I'm gonna find myself a young hottie.
I am the young hottie. What are you talking about?
Well, when you're gone.
Yeah, are you kidding? When they cross over, they're eternally young. Like, my husband comes through and he looks younger than when he was in a body, and he shows himself to my friends.
Right. Oh, that's a good question. Can you see Ellen?
I can see Alan clairvoyantly in my mind's eye. I mean, I know if I tune in, I see what he's doing, and it just makes me laugh and go, "What are you doing?" like what he's wearing or what his facial expression. And I understand now that clairvoyance, there's many ranges of it. It's not like 3D, obviously, right? It's holographic. They look kind of transparent. It can be a flash in your mind of, like, you get a visual, like, that's what happens a lot with me. And I'm seeing him more and more, but I do see his face, and sometimes it changes. And of course, I have mediums friends, like I said, who are fully clairvoyant. They can see him. like see him
Mm.
and
Wow.
talk to him. So there's like levels, that we can, and we're always evolving is what I'm finding, at least for me and my students. We're getting stronger in our ability. It's not like you reach a ceiling on any of this. You can
Right.
always develop further.
Now,
So
this puts
yeah.
the whole thought of when people say I'm sorry for your loss or something like that, and you say no, he's still
Yeah.
here with us today. That brings us to a whole other level. Did your friends who maybe aren't in this world, your family, are they supportive in this, or do they think you've gone
Well,
off the deep end?
Well, you have to remember, I've been in this field for 37 years.
That's
So
a
my
good point.
parents have passed, but my parents knew what my mom was my biggest fan because my grandmother was a psychic medium. I didn't know this until I opened up and started to feel and see things because I had lived a very ordinary life and I had no sense of the other side until I started to channel and then I started to become more telepathic. And then my mother said, "Oh yeah, your grandmother was a psychic medium and she used to do readings in Hanapepe, Kauai before World War II because she was a picture bride from Japan."
Oh,
And
wow.
she was, you got to be a pretty tough cookie to come over the Pacific Ocean and marry some stranger, right? And then start a family. And she was a psychic. So when I opened up, my mom said her mother came to her and said, "Don't worry about Pam. She's just like me. She'll be
Mm,
okay." So my mother from then on was like, "Oh, you're good. Like you'll be fine." And she trusted my opinion about everything
gotcha.
because her mother told her. So um I don't know, did I answer your question
Yeah,
Well,
you did.
about
so were any of your family members at the wedding? Like any of your family members that have passed on, like your
Oh no.
grandmother?
Oh well, probably, but at the Zoom wedding, our son was there. Our son is very psychic and he talks to his dad and has called out to him for help and received it. So I'm fortunate. Everyone around me, they just know they'll go, "How's Alan?" Or they'll even say, "Yeah, I kind of talked to him the other day. He showed up when I was doing that." So it's very normal for us, and that's just how we
Mm,
live. Like we live like he's here because he's here, and sometimes he's just more involved than others, but he's always around. And my son calls on him again, like when he needs him,
right.
and gets
I,
advice
I want to
and
live in your
knows.
world.
I know.
I do. I want to live in your world. It sounds so much nicer than ours, right? When people are just, no, people are just accepting and loving. And I mean, I think that's wonderful. I don't know that I am ready for that. Having all that said and done, it sounds wonderful. I just don't know if I'm ready for it because other than coming back and haunting Karen for the rest of her life. But I'd love to go back to the original question, which was I haven't heard about this
Right.
ever. Why do you think that is? Why do more people not talk about them? I mean, there's got to be a lot of people
Okay.
having these relationships, right?
Yeah, and they find me. I've lost track of the number of people because we published our book. This Valentine's Day, only 2 days from now, will mark a year since our book came out. And since our book came out, and we're talking about this, and getting noticed and all that, people are reaching out to me and saying, "I've had this experience too," and with some of them, which with much more profound experiences, contact. And they don't have anybody to talk to about it. So I believe it's because even, like I said, even the mediums and the spiritual community, they don't know what to think of it. They just, because if it doesn't happen to you, you just think, well, that's maybe that person's just, imagining it. But,
Mhm.
you can't imagine this stuff. Like, because if you could, then everybody would imagine that they feel this love and that they have this contact. Because isn't that what everybody wants? You would think that, right? If everybody's grieving, would go, "But I want to feel my husband hugging me or something." But they don't. Partly it's because they don't believe, and your beliefs create your reality,
And
as I
partly
think more
because
of
you
us understand.
and partly because you'd freak out if someone started reaching out to you through the veil
Yeah,
and started hugging you,
yeah.
like me.
But like I told you, I've had somebody in my group who was a Christian, okay, didn't believe in any of this stuff, and was shocked when she felt her husband touching her and wanting to connect, like physically wanting to make love with her. And she said, I really thought I was losing my mind. And then I heard about you. I've had people tell me they go online to find out about this and they can't find anything.
Hmm.
But somehow they find me because there are people now talking about us like on Facebook a lot, because I have a Facebook group for partners and spouses. And so they're talking about it, right, in these groups, and they're starting to hear about it. And if you actually go on Facebook, you'll see that there actually are some interdimensional couples groups. They're kind of here and there. And so it is being talked about, but it's very, kind of behind the scenes. Like, it's not really out there. And I really think that mediums don't even understand this, because one of the most famous mediums, if I said his name, you would know it. He told one of my members, who he happened to read during some open reading thing, right, they have online, and she was selected. Well, this woman is herself a medium, and she's having contact with her husband. So she was surprised to get called, but she's a big fan of this medium. And he proceeded to tell her that, oh, well, you have to let your husband go. You're holding him back, and basically telling her that, he wasn't really here with her. And she was like, so shocked. And she came to me for a reading. And I said, are you joking? I said, your husband's like, oh, like all over you. She goes, well, that's what I thought, So she was really disheartened, because she didn't expect that. And then I heard my husband say, that's how a lot of mediums are taught to say, that you need to let the dead go, that life is for the living, and you're holding them back, and you can't continue the relationship. It would be dysfunctional. And admittedly, maybe for some people it might be. I don't know. It depends on the relationship. But what I've seen, the people I've seen, and I have about 200 members in my academy at this point, I don't see anybody that has a dysfunctional relationship. What happens is the partner oftentimes wants to come through because they recognize that they didn't love as well as they could have, that they missed the mark. My husband did. He said, I failed to be the husband that you really needed. And I want to make that up to you. I want to support you. And besides, we agreed to do this work together. But that aside, he said, I want you to feel the love that I couldn't give you because my ego was in the way. And I just couldn't be all that I am until I died. So he said to me, Pam, is it better that I'm dead? That we have this marriage now that I'm dead, because I'm more who I am. And I said, yeah, because I was frustrated through our marriage because I knew that he wasn't fully himself, but I couldn't get him to come alive. I couldn't get him to snap out of this low-grade depression or whatever it was that he was dealing with. And he says a lot of men are like that. Women too. I'm not saying picking on men, but my husband always, would say, because he was a psychic counselor reader for 30 some odd years, he'd say, if men got their act together, I would be out of a job. Because he used to say that all the time, because of course most of the clients are women. So, and again, I'm not picking on men, but us men, because of our egos, it's just challenging, right? So relationships are challenging for that matter. But
I've got to ask a question, and it's not. The only reason why I'm asking this question is because our audience is going to be wondering and asking me to ask you this question. I could feel the energy coming through already.
all right.
What would you say to people that believe that, like you just mentioned, your husband missed the mark while he was here, and yet now he is a much better husband after he's passed? There might be people who would say, well, wonder if this is just wish fulfillment. Like, he wasn't as good now, but so now you're kind of imagining that your husband is back in a better form. What would you say to people that would claim that perhaps is what's happening?
Well, first of all, if you're having these experiences, in spite of because it's normal to doubt, and I doubted things, but there was so much proof that started happening. Things like my phone, like I'd be lying in bed, not able to sleep. My phone would be, on my bedside table, face down. And all of a sudden I get a call and I look, and it's my friend who lives in Kentucky. I'm in Honolulu. So it's, a big time difference, right? She goes, did you just call me? And I go, what are you talking about? She's on her message text, she says, did you call me? I go, no. And she says, you just called me. And I go, what are you talking about? he had called her on my phone, with my phone, all right? And
Oh.
because I was lying there and I was upset about something. And she's a medium. So she said, okay, he's saying, I'm half asleep, but he's saying, not to worry about it. You and I will talk about it tomorrow. I'll talk to him. I'll talk to you tomorrow. But he says, not to worry about it. And look at your phone. And I looked and my phone did call. I didn't touch it, but it shows, right, that you called out.
Right.
It called, it rang for exactly 1 minute. And that was it. And she didn't pick it up in time because she was waking up. So I've had that and so many other experiences. Like I was on a Zoom call and I started connecting with him and we were talking about something about supernatural sex we talk about in our book. And I'm talking like I'm talking to you, right? And I don't have a virtual screen. This is my living room. This was my screen, right? I'm talking with 4 other people. All of a sudden, as we were talking about supernatural sex, this fireworks went off behind me.
Oh,
Virtual fireworks, a video. Okay. I don't have a fireworks video on my computer.
right.
I didn't have a virtual screen going. I had a real live living room behind me, right? So everybody was like, oh my God. I've had those kind of things over and over. Come on. I can't make that up. And I've been in this business for too long. You cannot imagine this, it's just not possible. They're sending songs to people. Like he would wake up my same friend and go, it's Mother's Day. I want you to find songs to give to Pam. And then she'd go look for songs and she'd say, okay, he wants you to have this song and that song. They're doing all kinds of things. This is real, and the people are having the experiences, know it, okay? Because you can't just make it up. Trust me, I know people that want to have this, okay, if you're talking about wish fulfillment, and they're not getting it. Because like I said, the other side has to learn how to come through, and they have to believe. So it's not just that, because otherwise everybody'd be having this, okay?
Right.
More people be having it, but they're not. Because you have to at least be open to the idea, and the loved one on the other side has to learn how to project. And yeah, Alan says they're not going to really try to learn if we're not open, because what's the point? The person in a body just could be freaked out, right? Like, what the heck is that? And they know that, they can tell, so they don't want to upset anybody. But if they feel that they're open to it, and if maybe this was part of the soul plan, because as you probably know, people make soul plans before they come. So I think for a lot of these people, that was part of their pre-birth plan. Yes, I'm going to leave early, like especially with these couples, like have children. The father does come through and say, I want to still be a parent to my sons or my daughters. I want to still be involved. And I've worked with a teenager whose mother is a good friend of mine, and she had a session with me. And the daughter is very psychic, and the father had just died of ALS, and she could feel him. And I led her through connecting to him, because that's one of the sessions I do. I help people make direct contact, on a one-on-one session. And she connected with her dad, and she said, I know he's always going to be with me. I can talk to him. I hear him. And so her grief is not what somebody else would feel, right? Because she knows that her dad's always going to be around her, and she has access to him.
Right.
And so she was fine, like after that, losing her dad. She hasn't lost her dad. And it's very healing, for people to have this. And so, yeah, I think you're going to hear more of it as people start to come forward and say, yeah, me too. I had that. I had that.
Right.
Happened to me.
Now, you've got the Supernatural Academy, which you train people how to connect with their loved ones across the veil and have these relationships with them and things like that. Is it strictly for romantic relationships, or can
anybody can join? I have actually people, I would say 10% maybe of people in my academy are spiritual seekers. because I've been in this business for 37 years, and I've used to teach Reiki, I've taught psychic development. So I have a lot of clients, students, Alan did too. So I have several people in our academy who still have loved ones who are still here, partners still here. So they just want to evolve. They grow spiritually. And some of them even tell me, I'm so happy I'm in this academy because if my husband or wife dies, I'll be good to go. Like I'll know how to connect. Like I'm not afraid of death. I had several people tell me that. So it's really for anyone who's interested in really spiritually evolving, because this is what I'm actually teaching. It's not just
Right.
psychic development. I'm helping them let go of their limiting beliefs. So I do healings in the sessions too, to help people with physical and issues as well as spiritual,
Oh.
because my interest has always been in healing as well as spiritual development.
Earlier on, you mentioned the book that you wrote.
Yes.
You said you wrote it along with Alan, and you called it Supernatural Love, a true story of life and love after death.
Yes.
That is a very intriguing title. That's
really
pretty
is.
amazing. So you mentioned that Alan wrote it with you, and then you also said in our pre-interview communications that Alan and you work to train people how to do these things. Alan on one side, you on the other. Does that mean that he on the other side helps others that have
Yeah.
passed connect with the physical ones that are here?
Yes. We've actually had 2 students who went to mediums who were told by the medium, "Oh, I see that you're in a class, but you know what? So is your husband at the same time. What's with that?" And so they've got confirmation that their loved ones are meeting in the spirit world at the same time with Alan, and learning, like alongside of us. At least that's what he says. So
That is so
Wow.
cool.
I know
That's
that's so.
amazing.
He told me this when he first came back to me. He says, "I'm going to help spirits on the other side come through the veil because they need help." And I said, "Really? I didn't know that. I thought he was making it up." He goes, "No." And he led me to a book, and unfortunately, I can't remember the book. And a lookbook that I had, and I looked on a page, and this medium was saying, "Yes, there's spirits on the other side who help other spirits learn how to project themselves through the veil, because a lot of them don't know how to do that, but they want to learn, right?" And
Wow.
so he says, "See, I told you."
Uh, I can't wait to watch the TV show.
I know, right?
You know, someone's writing it up right now.
Holy
That's
cow.
incredible. That's we could call it Supernatural Ghost Training School or something like that. That's really
That's a terrible title, Will.
well. It's a working title, okay? Give me time.
Working title. I mean, maybe a bad working title, but it's still a
Right.
working title, right?
How about the Supernatural Love Academy?
Well, yeah,
Sorry.
That love has no
that's great,
boundaries.
original.
Right. I think I might have heard that before somewhere, but I'm not. All right. So this is amazing, and something I hope that more and more people hear about, because love doesn't have to end with death, and that's the underlying story here that people aren't really paying attention. Karen and I talk about it all the time about life after life. We'll find each other. Well, we never have to lose each other, Karen. We're going to be connected forever.
Well, maybe
Actually,
we haven't.
You can't lose each other. That's the thing that we're trying to get across. You can't lose anyone, because the connections you have, the love you share, that's eternal. Those bonds are never severed. And I really think what's happening is a result of humanity's consciousness is rising, although you might think it's all going, to hell, right?
Right.
But really what's happening is we're rising up. And so more people are becoming more sensitive, and the other side is getting stronger. And so I think you're going to hear about more interaction. That's what Ellen said, because the other side really wants to come through, and they're concerned about us. And the other side has always been involved in humankind's development. That's why people get inspired ideas and inventions, etc. Right? It's not like we're so smart. Come on, we're not. We just know what we already know, right? The brain only regurgitates. The inspired thought comes from the other side, and the other side has always been downloading us with new insights when we're ready. And certain people will take action and some won't, right? So I think that's what we're seeing playing out. And I predict in about a year that you're going to hear more of this.
Cool.
And people will speak up. And I hope so, because it will alleviate a lot of grief for people, and and help them grow spiritually, because our loved ones want to help us become all that we are, because
Right.
they are now all that they really are.
Right.
And so they say, the ultimate thing is to be who you really are while you're still in a body, and not have to wait to die to
Right.
wake up.
That's good. And also, Will, now you can run, but you can't hide.
Well, it's something just occurred to me. It's someone like Liz Taylor, who had like 17 husbands and who passed away. Like, are they like a supernatural love
Who knows?
conglomerate?
Ooh.
I know. She could have a harem over there, right? On the other
Right.
side.
It does
I
not
don't
sound
know.
so bad. I mean,
that sends polyamory into a whole new level. That's amazing. Well, Pam, if someone wanted to reach out or become part of the academy or join your Facebook group or wanted to know more about all of this, what's the best way for someone to reach out to you?
Okay, well, they can always go to our website, supernaturallove.com. Easy to remember, supernatural love with 2 L's. But what I really would like people to do is come look us up on YouTube, because we are teaching live on YouTube now every Saturday. And our channel is Supernatural Love with Pam and Alan Johnson. And my YouTube handle is at Pamela Johnson. So you have no excuse not to find us. And we decided, since nobody's talking about this, right, that we're going to take it to the world and get on YouTube. So we just started our first live stream this past Saturday. I was teaching live in my group, but again, it's for partners and spouses, right? So it's not for everybody. It's private.
Mhm.
And Alan said, you got to start talking to the world, because nobody's hearing about this, So I said, all right, I'm ready. Gulp, and so we're taking it to YouTube, and we did it last week, had a blast. We had a lot of our members there in the chat, and they were loving it. And so they're saying, I'm going to go back and watch this video over and over, because I led them through simple steps to do communication. I'm into practical how-to things, and that's what we do, on our channel. And I do meditations and everything. So,
That sounds
but if you want to
awesome.
go deeper, need more support and really interact with me, because I'll interact with them. We'll do like mini readings with people, coaching, with people. That's in our academy. So, but the academy, you can find it on our website. But if you want to just experience what we do, get a taste of it, go to our YouTube channel.
Okay.
And
Great.
that would be
That
great.
sounds.
Yeah.
We're going to add direct links to your YouTube channel, to
Yes.
your website, to all that stuff directly on our show notes. So if you want to go to skepticmetaphysician.com, go to Pam's episode page. You're going to see all those links laid in there directly, so it's easy for you to find them. One-stop shop. Pam, this has been fascinating. It has been an absolute pleasure. You are a love. You are a joy to be surrounded with. And it's got to be the love that you have with Alan that's kind of shining through. So my hat is off to you. Thank you for helping to share this message, which is so important, because this could truly revolutionize how we see love and life after love.
I
thank
hope
you.
so. My husband said he wanted to prove that we're immortal. That was his small little goal, right? I just want to prove to the world that we're really immortal.
Oh, yeah, that's
Right.
yeah.
Just a minor little throwaway
Right.
goal. Yeah.
Just one day's work. That's easy.
Sure.
All right. Well, we hope that
Thank
we've
you.
done just one step closer to make that goal happen for Alan. So once again, thank you so much for coming on. Please give Alan our best, and we hope we see you again soon. And a huge thank you to you. We know that there are tons of options out there, and having you decide to come along on our journey of discovery with us is an absolute honor for us. If you know someone who would benefit from hearing the message we're sharing on the show, do them and us a favor and share the show with them. It will help get the word out about us, and it might just change someone's life for the better. Well, that's all for now, but we'll see you on the next episode of The Skeptic Metaphysician. Until then, take care.